Hello, welcome to the Claws Out Comedy Podcast. My name is Kerry, and please welcome my co-host, Monna.
Hi guys! You can always follow us on Instagram at Claws Out Comedy. I am excited to be here with you today because we're going to talk about.
We're going to talk about a lot of stuff.
You want to talk about jobs?
Why not? People have them. Let's talk about it. We're topical people that talk about topics. So here's the thing.
I've always felt that about us, that we're topical people that talk about topics.
Well, okay, so like comedy is our job, technically, but
if the IRS asks, yes.
But it hasn't been like the only job, and right now we're not jobbing because like we used to job. We used to job, and now we're not. Now we're doing this, which is great, and I'm loving this. This is just an extension. But stand-up, of course, is the primary job. So like, let's just fucking talk about.
I had a bunch of jobs before I did stand-up full time. I've worked so many places. I've worked hospitals, call centers.
What was your first job?
Oh, my first job, I was
from the beginning.
From the beginning, I feel like I should be on a couch giving you a copay. The first job that I ever had was I was a radio DJ for a Christian online radio station.
I'm going to stop you right there and say, shut the fuck up.
That was my first job. I worked for Remedy.
What? Your first job, you were a Christian
radio DJ. I monitored the chat room to make sure nobody talked about drugs.
How old were you?
I was like 16, I think. 16 or 17.
That's insane. How did you land that job?
Well, obviously, God brought me there. How did I land that job? The job landed me, Gary.
So the Lord brought you to...
The Lord brought me to the Christian radio station, and I monitored the chat room to make sure no one talked about drugs. So that's what I did. That was my first job. My first job out of high school, though, very different. My first job out of high school when I was 18 was I went door to door for an environmental canvassing agency, which essentially was what do you call it? A scam,
right?
It was a scam. We were 100% commission, and we had to go door to door in random neighborhoods. They would just drop us off, and we'd be like, "Hey, they want to build a pipe here. You don't want that to happen, right? Give me money." And then we would all load up back into the van, and then not talk about how our boss did heroin. And that was that job. Yeah,
those are two very good jobs.
They also did a thing on the way home from, because we would drive to random cities because you had to keep expanding manifest destiny of the environmental coalition.
You're like a Bible salesman, but instead it wasn't Bibles you're selling. You're just like,
well, it's all bullshit. Yeah, I mean, right. Who can say?
You're still selling bullshit.
But we were it was Citizens Action Coalition. That's the real name of the place. And it was like camp. Because like every time on the way home from like our turf, that's what we called it, our turf, we would all bang the ceiling and go, WDHQ. That stood for World Domination Headquarters. And they took me to like my first bar when I was 18. I would just walk into bars in my hometown, and when people ask me for my ID, I'd just laugh at them. I'd just go, and then walk in. And they felt so little that they would just let me. So that was that first job. That was the slippery slope to who I am today, was a Christian radio DJ to knocking on random doors and asking for money.
I could see you having a job as a cult leader. I feel like you have the potential for that.
Would that even be a job? Because they say, find something you love and you never work a day in your life.
I feel like the cult leader probably does the least amount of work, but it's the most important role.
Should we just turn Claws Out into a cult?
If you want. I'm down for that.
You see how I put it on her?
No, I feel like
it's very cult leader.
I'm very cult leader. I'll be the HR director for the cult, where it's just like I take complaints.
Do a lot of cults have HR?
They have to have somebody that's just like, no, this is legitimate. Why do the organizing of this place?
You cook the books.
Yeah, I literally would do like things like, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna put it down in the report, and then I'm like, Mona, can you believe? And then it's just me talking shit.
See, it feels like you fall very naturally into that role. So what jobs have you had before?
Okay, so here's the thing.
What were your first two jobs?
Okay, so technically my first job was not a job, but I will tell you it was my first entrepreneurial endeavor.
Is this where you tell me you sold foot pictures? Because I don't need to hear it, Kerry.
That was technically something I've done for money, but again, do something you love. You never work a day in your life. Also, taking pictures of your feet. Not a job. It's super fucking easy, and people pay you money.
Well, you must have beautiful feet, because I've tried it before and it felt like a job. So anyway,
so It's the communicating part that's really, they're like, oh, your toes. And you're like, fuck, okay, fine.
Is that really that? More toes? More toes.
Like, you don't even care about my heels, do you, you dirty bitch?
It's the juxtaposition of the pinky to the heel.
I don't know. People are just like
the
weird
artistic
stuff.
layout.
And they want you to step on stuff. And I don't need to get into that stuff that I did.
Can we though? Because I have a bone deformity in my feet, and I'm wondering if I could get my X-rays from my doctor and sell those as foot pics. Would that be interesting to anybody?
I'm sure there's something for everyone.
Anybody?
Somebody would probably pay for those. And then they're like, oh, you see, I can't come to work. Look at my deformed foot. And here's the X-ray. It's from the doctor. And they're like, your name is
Why did you make me strong? Why did you make me sound like strong bad?
No, that was my impression of the person that bought them.
Okay. Sure.
So my first entrepreneurial endeavor, I was 7 or 8. And I learned at Catholic school that you just have to be a Christian to baptize somebody. You don't have to be a priest. And I was like, okay, well, Jesus, I'm going to make money for Jesus and keep it for myself. So I took a seashell.
That's very Catholic of you, actually.
So I took a seashell, some water in a cup, and olive oil. And I went door to door in my neighborhood and it was like, I will baptize your pets for $5 or whatever donations you want to give to me to go to church.
You did pet baptisms?
I did pet baptisms.
So like everybody else is setting up a lemonade stand and you're like, hang on. I hear you, but I've got a better idea.
The best part was like I really got the swing of it.
So what was your pitch? Was like, do you think all dogs go to heaven? Because that's not true unless you have the services of Kerry.
Well, here's the thing is one of my neighbors, they told me, they were like, we're Jewish. And I said, that's fine. And I was like, that's okay. Jesus loves everybody. And your pet doesn't know what they are, so maybe it's their decision, you know? It was just like, maybe they want to be cat, and they're like, no, thank you. And I was just like, okay, on to the next one. So I went door to door, and
I love the resilience.
People like, and here's the thing though, it escalated quickly because at this point, then I realized I really like this. And I liked the power, and I had these boys that lived next door.
Wait, so hang on. So you were just doing like the little splash, the little christening, right? You weren't just dunking puppies underwater.
No. It was just a little splash, just a little bit of olive oil that I put in a little jar that looked nice. So like I took the olive oil, I put it in a little medicine glass thing that was in our house that I think used to hold like spice or something. And then I got a little, like this I didn't do for money, but I made the boys next door, when we'd find like a squirrel that had been run over, I made them dig a hole and bury the squirrel, and I would be in charge of the funeral.
Well, that's just for respect.
Yeah. And so then there was a while where they're like, Kerry, please stop asking our sons to bury roadkill for you. If you want to have your own personal church and funeral.
But here's my question. Who else was going to do it? If not for the driven 7-year-old pet Baptist.
Maybe I should be the cult leader then and not do the HR stuff. Because
honestly, it sounds like you might be better suited.
Well, I think it was just like the fact that I was just like, I'm having a good time. And people were like, no thanks. And I was like, that's all right. Somebody else will let me be weird in their yard. And so
if I had a nickel.
And then, yeah, I think my first job, because
the pet thing didn't pay. That was for the love of the game, right?
Well, then I became a babysitter and pet sitter, and I was no longer asked to pet sit after one of the animals died.
I feel like you have to expand. We can't leave that open-ended.
The cat had thyroid disease, and I gave it its medicine, but maybe I missed a day, and then they came home and the cat was dead, and I was like, I mean, it was sick. And they were like, yeah, you forgot to give it its medicine one day. And I was like, one day. And they were like, it had a very serious thyroid disease. And I felt terrible. And they never asked me to
But did you say, but luckily I did baptize him before he passed. So he is in heaven now.
Technically, I did baptize their pets. So.
Okay. Well, that's a happy ending if I've ever heard one.
Yeah. So there's that. I'm trying to think. No. My first job though, at an establishment where I wasn't my own boss.
Right. Tell me about your W-2s.
Was at Qdoba, which is like, if you're not familiar, it's just Chipotle.
I am familiar, and I have to say, I think it's a dumb name.
Oh, yeah, nobody knows what it is.
I've never said it out loud.
Qdoba. And I worked there for a month because I had to pay off a speeding ticket I got when I was 16. And then I was like, I have to quit because I got the lead in the school play, and I just can't balance my homework and a play and a job. And then they were like, you're so right. You got to go and focus on school, your high school career. And I was like, yeah, it's very important. So I didn't want anyone to know that I worked at Qdoba because I went to like this like
so you were moonlighting at Qdoba
basically, and it was like 5 hours a week, right? So it was just like 1 day or like 2 days a week for like 3 hours, and then I was like, I gotta go do my homework, bye. And I didn't want anyone to know I worked there, and so you have to work in the line like on the front, like folding the burritos, and I just refused to learn how to do it. Like I was just like, oh, I wasn't there for that day of orientation. I'll never learn how to fold a burrito now. So I was like, I'm going to go wash dishes. And so then the manager would always come back there. And I think he thought like I was antisocial or something, as opposed to like I was ashamed of being a burrito folder or the cash register was too intimidating.
A barista?
Yes. I can't. You know, you're good at the word stuff. So I was the dishwasher at a Mexican restaurant. And they were just like, are you sure you don't want to come out and talk to the customers? And I was like, no, I'm so anxious. It makes me very nervous to talk to. Let me just wash these dishes. And it was really because the guy in the back that grilled the steaks was like hot and Colombian or something.
Sure.
And I was just like, I like his dreadlocks. And so I just washed dishes and stare at him.
You know, I worked at a salad shop for almost 3 years in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And you know why they got run out of business?
Because fucking Indiana salad doesn't. Okay, go ahead.
No, you're not far off. So, like, a coffin store opened up right next to us at the strip mall that we were at. Of
course.
And the coffin store.
Common story.
Was popping. The coffin store was so busy, and it was so depressing. Because it's like, wow, people in Indiana really are more prepared to die than they are to live.
Yeah.
And so, like, we had all of these problems. Like, I would work at the salad shop, and, like, there were 2 of them. One of them got closed down, but they moved me to the one out north. And I was like, okay, still feel like this isn't super solid, but all right. And then they would like serve me legal papers while I was working because our owners didn't take it very seriously. It was like their side project. They got high one night. They're like, you know, it'd be really good. Salad. And there wasn't a place to get one, so they opened a place, but then they didn't really care about it. So there would be lawyers that came in and just served me legal papers, and I'd be like, cool, thanks, I'll put that in our file, and then I just throw it in the trash. But I eventually put in my 2 weeks notice because I realized that they told us that our dishwasher was broken, but it wasn't. We just didn't have money to buy detergent anymore. And I was like, I'm going to go ahead and bow out because y'all seem like you don't have it together anymore. But I did work at that salad shop for a while. I worked at a couple hospitals, which was horrifying. And then
what did you do at the hospitals?
I worked in the dietary department. But the best place,
because you were a salad expert,
because I was a salad expert, so my skills transferred.
They're just like, you're like, I know you should eat salad if you want to live. There you go.
It's so weird because I feel so high and mighty about it. Like I really do. I'm like, I'll make the salad tonight, babe. Don't worry about it. I used to be a professional salad, but it's not cooking. It's just assembling, right?
Right.
It's like when you get an IKEA piece of furniture and you're like, well, the pecans go here because it's listed as number 12. But
I like the salad dressing is called dressing when it's just sauce.
Oh,
it's just sauce. I'm sorry. Are you gonna hit me?
I mean, I won't. But I appreciate that you thought that I might because it's not. It's saucier than that. Dressing.
Right.
You gotta put some shoulder into it.
I'm saying that
dressing.
Salad's different than other foods. Sauce.
No, that's true.
Sauce.
Salad's different than other foods.
It's its own category. You know, they have a multitude of different types of salad. You got pasta salad.
Well, I went straight from salad to then I worked at a thrift bread store.
Okay, you're gonna have to explain what thrift bread is.
A thrift bread is when they have an overstock of bread at like a main grocery store, and they're like, "Oh, we ordered too much bread," and then they send it to us, and we're like, "We'll take your bread, we will sell it for a more reasonable price."
But it's not a bread outlet; it was a bread thrift, which means thrift implies it was previously used.
I mean, how used could it be? It was previously distributed. Not used. It wasn't like someone sucked on the bread and said, it's not for me.
It's not open bag bread. It's not returned bread.
Right. It's just overstocked bread.
Understood.
Overstocked, understood. So I think the craziest thing about that place was that we had to take a hair follicle test. And I obviously, I've always been more of a drinker. I don't drink much anymore aside from this gutter wine that I got at the gas station today. Sutter Home is never going to sponsor us because they rhyme with gutter, and I can't resist saying that they rhyme with gutter. But anyway, they made us take a hair follicle test. I came home, I told my roommate Jason that, and he was like, "Oh, you're not going to pass that test." I was like, what do you mean? Also, I was super angry because I was like, oh, everything in the store can be baked, but we can't? Okay.
Right.
But again, never really been big into drugs, but I told him, I was like, well, I just drink. That's not a problem. And he goes, yeah, and then you black out and you do drugs. And I was like, hang on. Those don't count. They can tell that those don't count, right? So I had to take this hair follicle test, and I was horrified because I was like, I don't even do drugs, and I don't remember doing drugs. So I don't even have the pleasure of like doing drugs, and I'm not going to pass it. And so I got in this like big hole in my head, and somebody told me to just put Tide on my hair. And if I put Tide on my hair, that I would pass the drug test. And so I put Tide on my hair, and then I realized, Carrie, that I'm super allergic to Tide. So I passed the test. I got the job, and then I had to take the next 2 days off because my face swelled up. Swole up? You get swole when you go to the gym, but your face swells up.
You had a swollen face.
I had a swollen face. My eye was basically swollen shut. And then when I complained to Tide, they were like, oh my God, we're so sorry to hear what happened. Can we give you a coupon for more Tide? And I was like, no, I'm allergic to your product.
Okay. The fact that this place could afford, because follicle tests are expensive.
It's expensive. And nothing in the store costs more than $2. So anyway, I've been doing stand-up comedy as a full-time career for like 2 years.
What do you use to wash your clothes? Is it just Tide detergent you're allergic to?
Purex, I think is what I use. I don't know. What do I smell like?
It's nice. It smells fresh.
I think it's Purex. I think it's that cheap shit. But yeah, I can't use Tide.
Thrift bread store. I just am having a hard time wrapping my head around that. I did work for a restaurant when I lived in Miami. That I got paid $15 an hour to be a hostess.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and $15 an hour to be a hostess. And in the entire summer that I worked there, we had maybe a total of 10 customers. And I thought it was really strange. And then I realized every once in a while.
Were you a front?
Yes. And
oh my God.
It was called Paolo Luigi's. And it was owned with the guy. I walked in, I got the job. And then I just stood there for 5 hours every night and didn't talk to anybody. And then Basim would sit at the bar and smoke hookah. And I would sit with him and watch TV and smoke hookah with Basim. And then the waiters would go in the back and smoke weed. And so then I'd go and smoke weed with them. And then after all of that, there was a guy, and he would come in every once in a while and either ask, is Sal around? And I would say, no, I haven't seen him in a while. Or somebody would come in with a briefcase, and then I'd walk them to the back, to the kitchen, to the office, and then leave and just go back to the host stand. And then the waiters were always just around, and they were all like...
Did they just have a giant red flag as their banner for their restaurant?
Well, we all got paychecks, too. So they all got paid $15 an hour. So we all got paychecks, and then I was told what day I could cash my check. And sometimes I would go and cash the check on a day that, prior, or I got my check, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, why isn't there any money in my account? Because my check would bounce.
They did that with me at the salad shop too. I had a check bounce before.
So I worked for a front, but it was an Italian restaurant, which I thought, that's pretty dope. And then I moved to Texas. The end.
I moved to Texas after the thrift bread store as well.
Do you have a dream job? Like if you weren't doing comedy, what do you think that you would want to be?
Is rich an option?
Well, what would you get rich doing?
Oh, you keep putting work into it.
You got to spend 30 hours a week doing this.
Okay, so what I did actually want to do before I did comedy, because in high school I had decided I want to do comedy. This is all I want to do. Blah, blah, blah. And my parents said no. And there was one night where I told my mom that I wanted to be an artist, and she said, "Do you enjoy eating?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Well, then you're going to be a lawyer." So One of the jobs that I had actually very seriously considered doing as like my backup was working with serial killers and doing forensic psychology. So
Okay.
with comedy, I do still get to work with people who have no feelings and make no sense. I just didn't have to finish
with serial killers.
Okay, I shouldn't have said with. Prepositions are important. Working amongst.
No, I get what you're. Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I just thought that was a funny way to say, like, I wanted to work with serial killers.
I don't want to work in conjunction with them.
Okay.
I don't want to be like, there's got to be a better way, and I can help you find it. I don't want to be a serial killer consultationist. Consultation.
Here's your knife,
consultant.
More trash
Can I
bags?
interest you in Cutco? Did you guys have Cutco?
I know what Cutco is, and they would try and hire
scheme?
you. Yeah, when I was in college, one of the colleges I went to, they were like, Cutco, you want to come here and work for Cutco and sell these knives? And then I was like, oh, no thanks.
Yeah, so I did want to work with serial killers.
Mm-hmm.
I feel comedy is very similar because it's a lot of men who have no reasons for the thing that they do, and they just want everyone to be very interested in them for no reason. And I didn't have to finish college to do this, though, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah, that sounds. I could see you being a psychologist for serial killers.
I mean,
but also really one of those where a serial killer that's just like, oh, like, I'm so amazing, and I would have gotten away with it, and I could have gotten away with it, and like this like sense of grandeur that people like that have to have, and then you break them.
I'd love to do that.
You give justice. I could see you being a woman of justice, but through breaking people down mentally.
Justice through petty.
Petty justice.
Petty justice. I do think one of my dream jobs, and I think you'd agree, because that's what I used to want to do, right? But now 2020, everything's a little bit different. Like, how amazing would it be if all we had to do was hit up everyone we used to go to high school with and say, hey girl, you're looking a little chubby. Can I get you on these shakes or this coffee? People seem to make money doing that. That seems amazing.
Yeah.
Just negging people into my pyramid scheme. I just want to neg people into a pyramid scheme.
There's no reason why you can't.
Thank you. That's the message today, is there's no reason why I can't neg people into a pyramid scheme. This has gone off the rails.
Okay, so we're gonna take a quick I need a break. We're just gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna come back, and we're gonna have our just
Sutter Home wine. Hey everyone, I want to thank you guys so much for listening to the Closeout Comedy Podcast. I'm actually going to be live IRL at the Arlington Improv on September 17th, so come by and see me. And good news, because I know you're all broke bad bitches, if you use the promo code ALPHA, ALPHA, you can get 50% off your ticket. It's only $5. $5 for an all-female lineup of the baddest bitches you've ever seen in DFW. Please come and hang out with us. It's been so long, but like from a distance, like we're a mask, but you know. Welcome back to the Closeout Comedy Podcast. This is Monna. I'm here with my co-host, Kerry Smith. Kerry, say hello. Guys, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us. Okay, so today our special guest is Malori Davis. I'm so excited to have her here with us today. She's a very talented comedian in the DFW area. Malori, you and Kerry have met before, right?
Yes, we played Munchkin together.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, introduced her to that. It was so sweet.
I forgot. We did play a board game on your birthday. Who won?
Yeah.
Nope. I don't think anybody wins in Munchkin. It is a game that goes on.
No, there's definitely a winner, and it gets pretty ruthless at the end, and that's why I told you. And why you two made me so mad, because you just helped her, Kerry. You just helped her win, and I was letting everyone cheat. I didn't tell you all like the rules.
I didn't understand the game.
It was Mallory's birthday, and you helped me win.
So you did win. So we did have a winner.
Yeah, Monna won.
Thank you for coming here so that we could open old wounds. I'm very happy that you joined us here today.
I know I have like my Munchkin cards around here somewhere, and the deck is like, it doesn't even fit on the screen.
So, what is that your favorite board game? Would you consider it a board game? It's like a card game.
Yeah, probably, just because. Well, that one, and there's another one called Flux, and there's lots of different themes. It's a card game. There's different themes for it, and it's just called, I think it's Influx, because the game is always changing. So I like the games where it's not completely the same every time. Same thing with Munchkin. You kind of use your own creativity to change the game. So Flux, like there's a Monty Python Holy Grail themed one. So if you can sing a verse from this movie, then you get extra points, or you can use extra cards, something like that.
Yeah.
So how many cards you can hold in your hand versus how many you can play, it always changes the games in Flux. You're just kind of like trying to screw over somebody else.
I love that in a game.
Yeah, while being creative. So, creatively screwing over people.
What's your favorite board game?
My favorite board game is Trivial Pursuit. Anything where it's like, okay, so the thing is like with like Munchkin, I was like, I don't understand, and then things would change, and then I'm like, no, I need rules and regulations to work within. But Trivial Pursuit gets to a point where, I like, because I have all these like stupid factoids where it's like people are like, oh, you're smart, and I'm like, I know literally the dumbest things, and so I enjoy Trivial Pursuit. But the problem is that I'm fiercely competitive when it comes to games. So if I'm not gonna win, I don't want to play. And so I'm
a very similar way.
Yeah. So I'm like, Trivial Pursuit, I'm like, I can hold my own in Trivial Pursuit. But as soon as somebody starts winning, or if they gloat at me, it's like I've taken the game pieces and thrown them in the front yard. And then I'm like, if you want to keep playing, you got to go get them out of the grass. And they're like, it's nighttime. And I'm like, well, then I guess the game's over, isn't it? No winners.
So maybe you just need more team-based games like Pictionary or something like that. I like the games where you're trying to make the other person guess a word, but you can't, that kind of thing. So it's a sentence. Like if you're trying to make them say podcast, we're talking. You can download it on a phone, download it on a computer, microphone, that kind of thing.
Games of manipulation is what I want to play.
Yeah, Shirori is a lot like that. Have you ever played the board game that I made? I had a manic episode and made a board game, and it's actually pretty great. Like we've had a couple trial runs with different groups of people, and you can always play it.
You want to nag people into buying things? You just did that. You've never heard of my game, you ignorant fuck? Oh no, I haven't.
See, I didn't say all that, but I love that I didn't have to. So I did.
Well, it's not easy to come up with your own game, so that's good.
It's not when you're a well-regulated human being, but when you're in a manic episode and you just watch a bunch of Charlie McDennis on It's Always Sunny, it comes naturally. So I do have a game. Maybe we should all play that sometime on the podcast.
That's what you should do on here if you want to, or at least have a special recording of it. Speaking of Trivial Pursuit, with this whole pandemic, I've listened to more podcasts. You should try, Carrie, Every Little Thing. It's such a good, factoid podcast. Like, people call in with their burning questions, and they answer it. So it's like a slow Google, they call it. So there was one where they were just curious about... Oh, shoot, I don't even know. There's so many different ones. Like ants, do they really work together? How do they communicate? They heard this or that thing about ants. Is it true? And
Did you ever join the ant group? Did you ever join the ant group on Facebook?
No, but I'm interested. Like there's this one type of ants that actually have like a medic area, and they know how to do surgery, and they put termite heads outside their mound to warn off predators. And I just learned all sorts of weird random things. So my friend runs a trivia with Geeks Who Drink, and he commented something about face mites recently, and I had this whole essay on Instagram like, I know about face mites. Now we all have mites that live on our face.
When you came here today, I didn't think we'd get to face mites so soon. I thought we would get to face mites, but so soon it's happened. My favorite game is Monopoly. Thanks for asking. Anyway, so Mallory, we were talking earlier about jobs. What is the first job that you ever had? Obviously, you're a very talented comedian, but where were you before?
The very first job, I think it was a hostess at a local Chinese restaurant.
Now, was it a front for drugs or crime? Because Carrie told me also that she was a hostess and it was a front.
Yeah.
It was a front for me to get a discount, but that was about it. Because that was also where I took my friends for dances and everything. We'd get an employee discount there. But they just they had really, really good orange chicken.
Wait, you had dances at the Chinese restaurant? Huh? You had dances at the Chinese restaurant?
No, before dances, and we'd all go out to eat as a group, and then we could go there. together and get a discount.
Sorry, I grew
but
up
then
as
I
an
just
IHOP kid,
quit randomly because I was in yearbook. So
did you
I was
ever go to
16.
dance? Have dinner and then a dance?
We went to IHOP. I'm from Indiana.
Not me.
We had limited
You know
options.
me, like, no.
Okay, so you worked as a hostess at a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was a hostess at 16, and I remember that another friend of mine from the same high school worked there, and we had a name for the woman who owned the place, Shuffly Joe, because she was just this little old Asian woman that would shuffle up behind us. We never hear her, but she was always there. And I remember people try to tip me for to-go orders, and she said, "That's not your money, that's the restaurant's, and if you take any tips, you're stealing.
Shuffly Joe will get you.
Not a good place.
Shuffly Joe will take you down."
I had my male boss, I think it was her son, but we had a dress requirement. We had to be nicely dressed. And he came and he grabs my pants on the thigh and was feeling. He was like, "These look like jeans or something. You can't wear these." No, they're slacks. They're very clearly slacks. They're my mom's. So
these are from Talbot.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was just an excuse to grab a 16-year-old girl's pants. But you don't know these things at 16. You just think, "Oh, I'm stealing. Oh, I'm poorly dressed." I don't know. You can convince a teenager of anything. It's sad.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to take it
that was my first job, and then I was also in yearbook, so that was kind of a job.
So I take it that was not your favorite job. Do you have a favorite job
No,
you had?
no. I just only
what
now
if it was?
exited the service industry.
What if Mallory told us that's as good as it got?
That really was. And I joined, just a dark empire of a service industry after that recently. But they had benefits, so.
The things we'll do for benefits, really, it's
bend over backwards for benefits.
Yeah, where I'm like, I just want to pay $20 for a bottle of pills. All right, I'll show up 40+ hours a week.
So, what is your favorite job you've ever had? So that was the first job you ever had. My first job was I was a Christian radio DJ, and you said you were a hostess for a front for drugs.
No, technically my first job I was a minister.
Right, that's right. She baptized people's pets. I'm sorry, I forgot all of that. Mallory, what is your favorite job?
You know what? I wonder if our favorite jobs are just ones we were highly unqualified for. You were a Christian radio DJ, so you had to be so young, right?
I was 16, yeah.
Yeah, you're not qualified. Mine was dispatcher.
Sorry, have you ever had someone tell you a decade later you weren't qualified for the job that you had? You're right, I wasn't.
I was a dispatcher at a theme park and water park.
Oh,
in Idaho. So after I was mostly raised in California, and then as an adult, I moved to Idaho. And
you're currently in Texas. How did you get to Texas? If you're from California.
Oh God. People would ask me this as a server. It's I hate this question. So where are you from? Nowhere. I have divorced parents. Does that explain everything?
Trauma. That's where I'm coming from.
I'm from Trauma. You might have heard of it.
That's what I should say. I was in California. When I was an exchange student, my mom moved to Idaho, and I had to move back home because my visa ran out. And then I just lived where my stuff was, which was Idaho.
And then
I got in a relationship, bought a house, had a kid. We ended things, and then I left and moved where my family was. So that was Texas. My whole dad's side of the family's in Texas and Arkansas. So that's why I'm here.
Okay.
Still adjusting.
So I
don't like it. I really miss Idaho.
So the dispatcher job. So you were you said you were unqualified?
Well, I was super young. I was 20 years old, and I'm the sole communication. Really, the top communication for this entire theme park. And I know it's just in Idaho, but it's the only theme park, water park, that is, from the complete West Coast to, I don't know what's past Montana. But we were just, we had people from Seattle, and we were right up in the Panhandle near Canada. So we had a lot of Canadians, just people all over would come to this one theme park. And I was working in security at first, like just helping walk around and look for lost kids, and they promoted me to this job.
Were there a lot of lost kids?
Kind of. I mean, it's Idaho. Parents are drinking in a lazy river at a bar, sunstroke because they never get any, and
sure, kids get lost.
Rides would break down, and we'd all have our walkie-talkies, and so I had to operate a phone, walkie-talkie, and the computer, and type out everything that happened, everything that was said, and then sometimes call 911 at least a couple times a week, and that was all like everyone's safety. And maintenance was all based on a 20-year-old up in an office, just sitting in a chair, taking selfies, on downtime.
Were you taking selfies, calling 911?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Hey,
I got a new phone halfway through the summer. And,
called 911 might delete later.
Well, you have that protective case on, like, the cover on your phone, when you just buy it to protect the screen.
Uh-huh.
That's just a packaging product. It's not meant to stay on there. So I remember calling 911. I still had that thing on. I can't hear them. And I tried to take it off and I just hang up on 911. And there's like a kid who broke a bone off on a carousel. And it's really embarrassing to have to call back to 911. So that was the best one.
So how'd you leave that job? Was it with Grace over. Or was it, okay, the season just ended?
Yeah, the season's only like May to September. That was my favorite one. I was just constantly busy. There was always something to do. You feel very important. And I don't know, a little bit of stress kind of helps me.
Stress gives you that edge, right?
Well,
it's good to have a job where you matter.
Well, yeah. And I think that there's like people that like, there's certain people that are like, I like my list and I like calm and I want to doop throughout the day. And then there's other people that are like, I want to, and then it's like that's, I like that. I like being stressed out. I feel like I operate better.
I do, just because it makes the time go quicker.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be at a job, you might as well feel busy and validated.
Exactly. I want a purpose. And so that's kind of why it was hard in the restaurant industry, because sometimes you would have that busyness and that craziness, and you had regulars come in, you knew about them, they knew about you, but overall, it's just, I'd go through bouts where we could just blow up this whole restaurant and it wouldn't matter. We don't have to be here. You know that? Like, no one coming in to this restaurant to work or eat has to be here. It's pointless. It's pointless being here. And guess what? COVID happened and life goes on. Restaurants aren't that necessary.
That nihilistic attitude really shows me why you were drawn to comedy. How did you start doing stand-up, and how long have you done stand-up comedy?
I think it's been about a year at least of writing and caring about it. And I got into it because I was forced, just thrown up there. I was told, yeah, you can go near the end of the block. And so I'm panicking, trying to sort out my writings. And then my name was called right away. And that guy who was emceeing said, well, I was pressured into it. What do you think I feel like? So I go up and I say some things, and I kind of presented it as, so a thing I thought was funny was this. Another thing I thought was funny was this. And I think people thought that was my bit, but it wasn't. And it was actually not bad for someone who was not prepared, was not expecting it. And so, yeah, just trying to chase that brownout from the beginning is what kept me in it. And just writing with other people is fun. Even if after this pandemic, I never go up again. It's fun to write other people's stuff, help other people talk about it.
So you were really, because I think you're a very talented writer. I think you have a very strong voice, and I've seen you perform a lot on stage in the last year. I didn't realize you'd only done it for a year. So the first time that you went on stage, you were very pushed into it. But I've seen you on stage a lot since then. So what kept you on stage?
What kept me on stage was kind of knowing what I was going for, and then if I fell short, that's fine, because I'm just working it out. Have you guys ever watched The Office? Because my analogy is always like Michael Scott and the other guys in the office going, parkour. That's what I think comedy is. Parkour, just constantly trying to jump successfully from one thing to another. And sometimes you don't land just right, but I just keep going. And I don't know, whenever I wouldn't hit the mark quite right, I still was not afraid to go up the next time. Like, I just felt like almost that same internal mental of, okay, let's go again. Let's try it this way. I don't know. I get kind of a rush of, I know what I was trying to do. It didn't hit, but let me try it another way. Let me just, I don't know.
Well, I think that's a very positive perspective, especially being so new into comedy. That's a perspective that I don't think I caught on to until I was probably 3 or 4 years in, which is that it's practice and that you're trying to work towards something. So like a lot of people will get caught up in the, well, that was bad, and they won't focus on, but my intent was good, and I can get to. You're right. It is jumping from one point to the next. So when people don't make that jump, I think a lot of time they assume that they'll never make the jump, and they're focusing on the failure. But it sounds like you're focusing on the success and the potential, and that's why you've had so much luck in comedy so far.
Yeah,
because it's not luck; it's persistence.
Yeah, it's persistence. It also, like me, I kind of get so down about. I have a daughter. I have personal life dramas going on and work, and it's just like I wish I had more time and everything. And the summer came and went, and that's usually when I don't have my daughter. So I just felt like I'm not so far behind. I don't have time to practice. And I don't know. So many people are single and young and bitter and just have so much more
single, young, and
freedom
bitter.
That would have
been my album name
secretly,
put something out
in the bathroom later after bedtime.
Single, young, and bitter. That sounds fantastic. So, what do you think?
Those were the best times, though, man. You don't understand. Now people just expect you to be happy all the time when you know.
I think a lot of my comedy career personally was driven by bitterness. I can attest to that. I'll cop to being a bitter comic.
I feel like
in the beginning.
Yeah.
I feel like
bitter,
it can't all be bitterness. That's definitely going to give comedy this sad name, but
comedy is a release, right? So like a lot of the time, a lot of us, I know me personally, I use comedy as a coping mechanism. And so instead of, you can't get on stage and say I'm a comic and then only be sad, but you can be angry. And so I would convert the sadness into rage, and then that's where the jokes would start coming out.
Yeah, it's funny. Like Louis C.K. is a good one of you can just feel like the frustration and the anger bubbling up over something so small. And I don't know, there's definitely a lot of emotion on stage. And that's why I don't try to write anything fake. I try to make something funny off of my own life. And I don't know, I just think if it made me laugh, maybe eventually, if I word it right, it'll make someone else laugh. And I don't think I have any real bitterness in my comedy, but there
well, you don't seem like a bitter person.
That,
if you're authentic, then you have to stick with that.
I know I sent a recording of an open mic to one of my friends, someone who really knows me, and I was proud of the work, but when I sent it to him, he goes, "Wow, all that was real dark and real sad." And I thought about it, these were like some worst moments of my life, and I'm just up there laughing about it.
But you're up there converting it, you're changing it into something else. You're transforming your pain into something that you think can make others have a lull.
Yes, and if they don't know you, then they're not going to ask you if you're okay. So they'll just laugh and commiserate.
Well, that's what I was doing on TikTok for a while. I was just telling stories that were so sad it made people feel like they needed to apologize to me. I love living in that space.
Making, again, back to the negging. You're negging people into.
Yeah.
You're a bad person if you don't care about me.
Exactly. And you are. So, what is your favorite thing about performing in DFW?
That it is kind of this community. It's comedy is definitely something everyone knows about, and Groupon will send you discounts to go to certain clubs and whatnot, so people go. So I'm not going to say it's some secret underground type thing, but it is this community that I didn't know truly existed until I was in it. Why I was even at Hyenas and at open mics was because, as in the service industry, I had worked a whole double, and sometimes I'd be off early, and I didn't want to go home because it's just so depressing to have work your entire day. Let me have something to break it up. And I would go to a bar here in Arlington, and just blow off some steam, have a drink, and then go home. And there was a lot of regulars there, and it just, I don't know, it wasn't very interesting at a certain point. And I found out that Hyenas had open mics and pre-shows on Thursdays. So I thought, well, if I'm going to be at a bar, why don't I go to this one instead? At least there's some entertainment and maybe people who have a brain cell in their body, not just a regular barfly. So I went, and then I just kept on going. And that's when you see what it's really like to know comedians, to know the kind of family and the tight-knit community. And I enjoyed that. And then I was forced up on stage, and then I didn't feel like I could say comic until I had an actual show. So that's why I get so nervous and antsy when people call me comedian, because I'm still, like, personally, I'm not where I want to be. So I haven't earned the title. Just like trainee right now.
What was your first show?
With Monna. I've only ever done Monna shows.
Well, we were talking earlier about how Monna's basically the comedy madam. But she's like,
yeah, she
come
is.
here, sugar, you can do one of my shows if you want, I'll take care of you.
I do. I need a cigarette holder. I need a.
Yeah. Fancy.
So your first show was a Claws Out show?
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that. That's wonderful. I'm happy to hear it.
Yeah, that was good. And that was the show where, again, with the whole parkour, like, it was suggested to me the day of the show to, why don't you reorder some of your jokes? I think you should close on this one instead. And I did it, and it worked well, but I could just feel myself kind of lagging, like, what was I supposed to do next? Because you do get, me at least, being new, I got so used to this specific order of, I'm talking about this, and then, yeah, it did make sense to change it, but it was so hard. I was just working extra hard mentally of, what was I supposed to say? It was like suddenly translating another language while trying to speak. I don't know. It was difficult to change up the routine, but it worked. I thought it was worth the risk.
So,
whoops. On your show.
so was your first show at Funky Picnic? Was that the first show?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, Funky Picnic, I don't think that you've ever been yet, but it's a woman-run, owned by this amazing woman named Samantha in Fort Worth, and it's such a cool space, but they let us do a Claws Out show there, and I don't think I realized that was your first show.
It did pay off, because obviously it was
she had a great set. I didn't know that was her first show.
There we go.
You had someone there recording. Why would I have thought that was your first show? Oh, that's great.
Yeah. There's the Etch-a-Sketch in the green room, which I took tons of pictures of. That was very cute. I have the poster signed by everyone that was on the show.
I hate to be the one to tell you this, so I don't think I'm going to be. Carrie, can you tell her?
What?
We were gonna wait till the end to let you know.
Mallory, I have bad news.
She's so much better
than I
am.
I have very bad news.
What?
Unfortunately, you're dying.
I'm dying.
It's terminal. There's nothing you can do about it. It's going to happen here in the next 3 minutes. Yeah. So, in parting this
I'm not going to waste it talking, man.
No, you're going to have to.
You're going to waste it.
So, basically, what are your last words? What wisdom would you like to impart while you
some good advice that I had?
What's the best advice, the worst advice?
Yeah.
And then what advice do you leave this world?
Oh, I think the best advice I had was from my French teacher in high school, and he kind of attached it to this one poem called Get Drunk. And what it means is, like, get drunk on life. Whatever makes you feel happy, just get drunk on food, wine, art, whatever. And so he was trying to tell us, don't get stuck on this path of where you feel you have to go to college. Then you get this certain job, and then you get married, and you buy a house, and you get stuck on this train track, and it's so hard to get off of it.
It's a game of life.
It's Epicurean philosophy.
Yeah. And it's society that pressures us into it, or now there's, so much more social media than way back then. And so I became an exchange student afterwards. I thought college is going to be there. I'm still in college technically. So, it's definitely not going anywhere. Just live your life how you want to, not just don't get stuck on this track. Do something kind of abnormal. So after high school, I filled out, a huge stack of applications for exchange students while other kids were doing college applications. And, I got sponsored to go live in another country for a year with 3 different families. And it was the best thing. And I move around a lot because it rounds you out a bit. It sometimes feels like the more places I've lived, the harder it is to settle, like fit in any one place. But I like who I am much more than some of the other people I've met. So
we like who you are.
We like who you are too. So what's the worst advice someone gave you?
You had one baby, you might as well have another so they can play together like they're fucking puppies. Because as soon as I had my baby, people are asking me, when are you going to have another one? You had one, you might as well have 2. And I was just like, I like this one. I kind of just want to hang out with her, see how she's like, why would I have a baby? Why would I do that to my baby? Just have another baby, play with the baby. And the older they get, then it just becomes, well, your daughter can just be a babysitter for the next one. Like, as if I don't know. I don't see why having one makes you want 2, and why, if you love your kid, you'd make it a servant to your new kid. I don't get it at all.
I mean, I'm an only child, so I identify with this quite a bit. You only need one. Do it right the first time. Okay, so what?
I'm the oldest, and so maybe that's also my thing of I don't want to be like my mom, where it's clearly there's preferential treatment, and one was the little servant to the other, or to her, really.
Well, we do all have mommy issues. So what would be the advice that you want to leave behind? How much time does you even have left now?
You have, I guess, as a doctor, I'd say you have 45 seconds to live.
Great bedside manner.
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know what I'd leave behind. I guess gentle. It'd just be, what that one teacher said back in 2005.
Your advice is something somebody else said to you already?
Yeah, I know. It's I totally agree with him. That was great. Just do that again. Be curious about yourself. There we go. That seemed to hit with Monna earlier. Be curious about yourself,
Mm-hmm.
If you feel like something's wrong, sit with it and investigate. Be curious, accept who you are, and then move on from that and get better. Or, I don't know. Be curious about yourself. Sit with it.
I love that.
Too many.
Oh, no. I think Mallory's died for
Mallory
real.
died.
We told her she had a limited amount of time, but I think she's actually dead.
I didn't kill Mallory.
We didn't kill her. We're not happy she's dead.
No.
We told her that she was going to
I
be.
had terrible bedside manner. I really should have been more kind in the way that I said that she was dying.
Now that we know that it's true, yeah. You could have been
Regrets.
But it's parkour. We move on.
But we hop on.
The intention was good.
We're amateur parkourists.
Parkourists? I don't know. I do know that I've had a lot of mechanics who have better bedside manner than any doctor I've ever had. There was one time my Buick was dying, so I packed all my stuff into my 193 Buick LeSabre and moved from Indiana to Texas, right? I had everything I owned and 2 cats at the time in the backseat. And when that car died, when I got to Texas, the mechanic came out and he goes, "Hey, I know what's wrong with your car." And I was like, "Oh my God, what's wrong with my baby?" And he looked at me and he goes, "You need a new car." And I was like, "Oh, okay.
Thank you. Is she nice to get you safe?
I was like, "Okay, well, I guess I'll drive home and I'll think about that." He's like, "No, I can't let you leave here. I can't let you drive that car home," because the motor mounts had rusted all the way through.
Your baby's a death trap.
It was a death trap. He was like, "Do you see?" He made me come out and look at my car, and he stepped on the gas and he's like, "Do you see how every time I press the gas, your engine jumps like a pit bull trying to get the mailman?" And I said, "Yeah, I see that." He goes, "Not supposed to do that."
Okay.
Oh,
I sold a car once for $200.
Hell yeah, me too.
It was to one of those junk companies where they come and pick it up and then they give you $200 for it. And he said, "Man, this car." And I said, he goes, "Do you want to clean anything out of it?" And I go, "No." "Oh, wait, I forgot my social security card." And I grabbed that. So I almost gave him my social security number. And so then I
just get crushed.
Yeah, and then I grabbed that, and then I was like, you can take her away. And I forget what I said specifically to him, but he goes, do you want to say goodbye to it? And I was like, yeah, I kind of think of her like my ex-wife. And he was like, what? And I go, I beat the shit out of her. He was like, oh my God. This poor guy. And he was just like, okay.
Speaking of domestic abuse and
good segue. Nailed it.
That's not a good segue, but we do sell these on our website. I think at some point we sell these on our website for legal reasons. These are keychains, but for actual actions, they're called the Equalizer, and they're made in the USA. They have a Closet Comedy on the front.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Closet Comedy Podcast. You can follow us on YouTube and Instagram. Subscribe, like to all our videos, and come back and see us again.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.